Sweet Summer Days is happening now at Whole Foods Market with sales on the juiciest fruits of the season. Organic peaches, organic cantaloupes, blueberries, and strawberries. That's an epic fruit salad. You'll also find sweet sales on fresh Alaska sockeye salmon and halibut and grill-ready fruity marinades. Keep your wallet happy with aisles of savings from $3.65 by Whole Foods Market, like sparkling waters, frozen fruits, and snacks. Sweeten your summer at Whole Foods Market. Terms apply.
McMenamins, the ubiquitous chain of brewpubs, is turning 40 years old. I'm sure everyone can remember the first time they stepped foot into one of these eclectic and playfully decorated spaces. But did you know many of their locations are in rehabilitated historic properties? Like at least 9 are on the National Register of Historic Places. So today on CityCast Portland, our very own producers, Julia Fiaioni and John Notarianni, are joining me to discuss our most and least favorite McMenamins. Which are haunted? Which are really good date spots? Which ones previously employed us? So go get your passports. We're hitting the artisanal pub. It's Wednesday, July 19th. I'm Claudia Meza, and this is what Portland's talking about. Welcome, everyone.
Hey.
Thanks, Claudia.
Today we're talking about I guess it's like, I would say underappreciated McMenamins chain. McMenamins is a family-owned chain of brewpubs, breweries, and music venues, and historic hotels and theater pubs for those of you who are just like, what are they talking about? Which would be weird if you're from here. If you're just like, what is a McMenamins? But they're mainly in Oregon and Washington. There are 63 of them.
Wow.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
Yeah, which is probably why we don't see them anymore.
Because they're everywhere.
Is it just like power lines? They've just sort of
they've
just fallen out of our view because they're so much everywhere.
Yeah, and like just like power, we have taken it for granted. And I feel like if they all went away, we would just be like, but I like seeing movies and eating tater tots.
Mm-hmm.
Anyhow, according to the Brewers Association, McMenamins is one of the top 50 largest craft breweries in the United States. And McMenamins was founded by brothers Mike and Brian McMenamin, which is where they get that name. If you're just like, why McMenamin? But anyhow, these brothers, they grew up in Northeast Portland. So this is as local as it gets regarding chains. But here's one of the biggest pieces of info where I was like, okay. In 1984, they were part of a lobby that tried to change Oregon's law that prohibited those making alcohol from selling it on the premises, allowing the establishment of brew pubs in Oregon. So the brothers helped create a big part of Oregon's personality. Yeah. So when people call them like the microbrew founders or whatever, it's true. But yeah, I mean, John, I feel like I just told you all these facts that blew my mind, and you were just like, I knew.
We'll get there. I've got a good reason.
Julia, did I blow your mind at all?
I would say enough. I'm
Okay.
glad that you shared them.
Wow.
It's a hard sell today.
Jeez Louise, I'm going to have to dance a little harder out here. Well, so I was curious. What was your first time visiting a McMenamins location? Like, which one was it, and what was the experience like? If you can remember. That's far back.
Yeah, I can start. I have a pretty clear memory of mine because it wasn't that long ago. I went to Edgefield just a couple weeks after I'd moved here, which is now about 2 years ago. And I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I roped my roommate at the time into going with me. And I just remember approaching what is essentially the front gates, and it's all these metal detectors surrounded by these trees that are kind of like growing around them. And I remember thinking to myself, like, this is so whimsical. This feels magical. Like, I'm just walking into this, like, concert forest. And as I was walking in, I could smell soft pretzels and tater tots, and I was just appreciating the grounds. And then I found out later they were actually reasonably priced. Coming from Toronto and LA, everything is just, like, absurdly expensive at venues, but not there. And as I was waiting in line for a drink, I made a friend, and we were talking, and the concert was amazing, and it was such a friendly environment that it felt like I basically had watched the concert with my chin on the stage. I could get as close as I wanted to. I could go and sit on the grass. And then after we had been told, it was like a best tip advice from the host of the show that you should go and get food and wait out the traffic before you go home. And we went to the hotel lodge on the property, and I had gotten these ahi tuna tacos, which I was also blown away by that they were so good at a concert venue. So it was a very memorable night. So very positive first introduction to McMenamins overall.
Nice. Have you ever stayed in any of the hotels, Julia?
I haven't yet. I have been curious though.
John?
So, I mean, this might explain a lot because my first time going to a McMenamins was for a job interview because my first job when I moved to Portland was I was a bartender at the Kennedy School off 33rd. Yep.
Which one? Because there's so many bars in the Kennedy School. Were you in the closet bar? Were you in the boiler bar?
All of them. And this is why it was crazy. So I just moved to Oregon. I was having like a really hard time finding a gig. But like you said, there's 5 different bars, and those 5 different bars have 5 different menus and like 5 different lists of recipes for cocktails and like 5 different sets of like what products you have on hand.
Oh my
So I was
gosh.
training across all 5 of those bars simultaneously. And you would rotate through and work in a different one every single day. So that was my introduction to McMenamins, was being all the way inside of it. They brew their own beer on site there. So the entire place always like has that sort of like weird, sweet, sour smell of a brewery, which is like kind of charming as a guest, but like kind of crazy when you're working in it all day. Yeah, I was like all the way inside that machine.
That's intense.
I have to ask, is the Kennedy School haunted?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is. Yes. And that's all I'll say.
You can't. Oh, come on.
No.
Did you sign an NDA?
You gotta share more than that.
No, I actually don't know how to answer that. I don't know if it's haunted. It is.
You little scamp. You had us going.
It's crazy though. Like I do wish that people could get behind the scenes and just see how crazy it is that place operates, right? Like they put out so much food in that building. They have like a kitchen that is the busiest commercial kitchen I've ever seen. And then they have like a second kitchen, and they have like all these weird little places hidden around the building where there's like additional ice makers or like things are stored in crazy places. It is like a city unto itself.
That alone is haunting, is what you're saying.
And I guess I should explain, like, if somebody hasn't been to the Kennedy School, it is an old, I think, elementary school.
It's an old elementary school, yeah, with pools.
And it feels like an elementary school. Like, they haven't changed it that much. They just put, like, bars and hotel rooms in the places where classrooms and auditoriums used to be.
And murals. I mean, they do like, jazz it up a little bit. But the reason I asked John is that the Kennedy School is notoriously haunted. Like, that is the gossip. People always have their little Kennedy School haunted stories. But here's why it never added up to me, John, is that people are always like, yeah, it's like small children. And I'm just like, okay, how does this work? Because the Kennedy School, it wasn't like they took it over because it was a tragic accident and all these children died. That would be weird. Right? Yeah. Then your little ghost children would make sense. So you're saying these children grew up, died, became children, went back, or is the school just, because it's a school, it's just attracting ghost children from the area and they're coming to Kennedy School for an education?
It's like a ghost child depot. Yeah.
And they're so confused that they're haunting you. It makes no sense. Why are ghost children?
I see what you mean.
Okay, sorry.
And if I was a ghost and a child and like could float wherever I wanted, I wouldn't go back to school.
Exactly.
Oh, definitely not.
Why would you? I would be haunting Disneyland. Like Disneyland, if that were true, Disneyland should have the highest. Yeah. The what?
The Lloyd
Center.
Some 80s little kid ghost haunting Lloyd Center. All right, whatever. Sorry, off topic. I was just curious if so okay. Never saw any hauntings. Just proving my theory right that children do not haunt the Kennedy School because it doesn't make any sense. I'll tell you mine. Nobody asked, but I will tell you mine. When I went to
Claudia.
Oh yeah.
What was the first time you went to a McMenamins?
Oh my God! Thank you so much for asking. So I went to college at Evergreen in Olympia, Washington, and Julie, you said something about affordability. And I feel like that is something that McMenamins has always had.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the like treat yourself things that we had in Olympia is we would go to the Centralia location of the Olympic Club. I don't know. Have you guys heard of that? The McMenamins Olympic Club in Centralia, Washington?
No.
No.
So it's like a billiard hall. So you can go play.
Oh.
So there's a ton of pool tables everywhere. It's pretty much just what you would expect from McMenamins. You know, there's beer, but there's also a hotel and there's a movie theater. And just the attention to detail where like everywhere you would look, there's just something kind of like cute and bespoke, you know, for you to look at. It's not just like, here's some stuff, you know. That was the first experience, and it was a positive one because people would like save up for a fun weekend to leave their college town, hang out, you know, in this hotel, play pool. It was a place to be and a place to go. That was something that was instilled in me, you know, as a very young, like as a teenager, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, it was something special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like people would go there for like romantic weekend getaways. When I think of, I've gone back now and I'm just like, God, we were such little punks. Like it's a billiards hall. We're just like, do you want to go? Smells in here. Like I don't know why that was a romantic spot.
That's so good.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
funny.
So I actually have stayed overnight at one of those hotels. So John, I'm sure you've not gone to all 63 of them, even though you've worked there.
No, I have not filled out my McMenamins passport book, although I've stamped many passport books in my
John,
day.
could you explain the passport book? Because it's become kind of like a running joke between you and I.
So, and let me explain it like as an employee of a McMenamins establishment. The company has, which is like actually a really cool idea, that they have this book that you can buy for like, I don't know, like super cheap, like $15. And it has different activities to do in all of the McMenamins across the region, right? And as you fill out all the little tasks of like going to one of the bars at the Kennedy School or like figuring out a puzzle or something, that the bartenders all have like a stamp and we stamp your passport book. So there's all these people that will go around from location to location trying to check out all the different things that McMenamins has to offer and are really excited and have their passport book there for you to stamp and offer it up to you. And as the bartender, you give them a stamp and send them on their way.
Oh, I don't know. I think that's sweet. Julie, would you have a passport?
I feel like I should, but I don't. It sounds fun.
Yeah,
Something
it
to
sounds
do.
cool. I say that, and I know my voice went high up. I say that as someone who holds the official MLB passport.
Wait. What's that? Is that like for stadiums?
I wish I had it like handy. It's like leather bound. It's basically
Wow.
you go to all of the baseball stadiums and you get a passport like stamp.
Mm-hmm.
And then you write, you know, there's witnesses, like you ask people like, hey, I was here, will you sign it? And then like that's how you make friends. And then you write like cool stuff about what happened. And yeah. And I love it. But I have pictures of the person who stamped my passport just as a joke. It became a joke, but now it's like, and I asked them to stand very awkwardly and stare at the camera. So did anyone do that to you, John? Where they
for sure. I mean, maybe not the photograph thing, but like,
Oh.
yeah, people got like real ritual about it. They were like very intent. And then every now and then you'd see somebody who was just like so intent on finishing their passport that they weren't even like having fun, you know? They would just like stop it and be like, I need a stamp, and you'd stamp it. And then they'd like go away to get their next stamp. Like some people get like really like, gotta get all the stamps.
I feel like those are tourists who are trying to get all the stamps all at once when they're
Yeah.
visiting for a weekend.
Yeah, it's just like,
Which is just
chill.
insane.
63 stamps? Y'all need to calm down. Have a beer. Chill out.
That's silly.
Yeah. I'm just saying it's easy to make fun of someone's enthusiasm. I'm not going to do it.
Good for you.
But John, I'm sorry you had to work somewhere where there was a lot of tourist action because that just sounds like a lot. That's all. Oh man, I'm sure the stories you could tell.
Yes. Yeah. Not once the microphone's closed.
Okay, let's take a quick break here, and when we come back, which McMenamins make the best date spots? Rose City Comic-Con, Portland's premier comic convention, returns September 22nd through the 24th to the Oregon Convention Center. Celebrity guests already include Doctor Who stars Jodie Whittaker, Mandip Gill, and Karen Gillan. There'll also be comic creator guests, including Kelly Sue DeConnick, Adam Hughes, Greg Rucka, Brian Stelfreeze, and many, many more. The deadline to skip registration and have your badges mailed directly to your home is Sunday, July 23rd. Now, badges will still be available after that date, but if you want an official t-shirt and lanyard to be conveniently shipped to your home, you'll need to grab them before July 23rd. For even more information, head over to rosecitycomiccon.com.
Sweet Summer Days is happening now at Whole Foods Market with sales on the juiciest fruits of the season. Organic peaches, organic cantaloupes, blueberries, and strawberries. That's an epic fruit salad. You'll also find sweet sales on fresh Alaska sockeye salmon and halibut and grill-ready fruity marinades. Keep your wallet happy with aisles of savings from $3.65 by Whole Foods Market, like sparkling waters, frozen fruits, and snacks. Sweeten your summer at Whole Foods Market. Terms apply.
If you needed to take someone on a first date and the only options that were open were McMenamins, where would you go on a first date?
I do have an answer for this because I think I have lots of good things to say about McMenamins, even when I get over my service industry trauma. One of the things that's amazing is just how diverse they are and how many different types of places are McMenamins establishments.
Mm-hmm.
The place that I could actually see myself taking a first date is the Crystal Ballroom.
Oh, yeah, that
downtown
makes sense.
Portland,
Yeah.
concert venue, sort of mid to larger size. So they get a lot of really great acts in there.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a bigger room, but it's not like a giant room.
Mhm.
And they have really good shows. I've gone there plenty of times, quite happily.
Me too. It's an experience. They also have that little bar in the basement that's really sweet.
I love the Crystal Ballroom. That's actually, John, where I got this shirt.
Is it really? Claudia is wearing a very cool shirt of the band The Breeders that I was complimenting before we got started taping.
Because it looks like the Raiders, but it says Breeders, and then it has Kim Deal's face. Yeah, it's pretty cool. And she's wearing a football helmet, too, which is a nice little touch.
We'll put a link in the show notes.
You gotta see it.
It's just going to be me wearing this shirt and holding my MLB passport. So people are just never listening to the show again. She's awful. What about you, Julia? Where'd you take a first date?
So this spot I have fond memories of because I used to go there after Timbers games when I lived in Northwest, and it's the McMenamins Blue Moon location, which is off of 21st and Northwest. John's shaking his head.
No, I just don't know it.
Oh, okay.
Is that by Cinema 21? Like that strip?
It is by
Okay.
Cinema 21. So it's in a pretty nice, walkable area in that side of town. And it's a more divey location with some of the funkiest artwork.
Wait. I think I did go on a first date there once. Yeah, I did go on a
did
first
you
date
really?
there once.
Well, there you go.
Wait, I want Julia's story.
I forgot about that.
I literally asked Julia a question, and then John and I were like, so anyhow, we've been on a lot of dates. Julia, please.
What up, Jamie? If you're out there listening, hope you're doing well.
Oh, it must have been a fine date
Yeah,
then.
it was a decent date.
Oh, nice.
If you remember, I don't remember names. Julia, tell me about this for why it's a good first date spot.
So it has more eclectic artwork than some of the other places, and there's a big moon mural on the ceiling inside, and there's a number of little cozy red lit booths. It's a bit divier, but it makes for a casual, accessible environment that's not too rowdy, but full enough to where it doesn't sound too empty in there.
Mm-hmm.
It's just nice. I feel like I would be yeah, let's just go. It's good memories, energy's good. Why not?
You like the vibes, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, the vibes are superb.
One thing I'll say about first dates at McMenamins, there's always lots of stuff to talk about because there's weird stuff everywhere.
That's true.
It's a great point.
Because the thing I remember from this first date is that there was a really cool lamp on the table, but it was screwed into the table with one of those sort of screws that you would need a special screwdriver to get off, And we talked about going on a second date and bringing like a weird illegal screwdriver so we could steal the lamp.
Crimes, hot. So what's your go-to food / drink order? If you were, I mean, it happens, you guys. Like, I know, John, I know you have trauma built up from this. Because I'll be honest, listeners, whenever we bring up McMenamins, John's face is just like, he's like, oh, like he's reliving every passport stamp. But Julie and I have a more naive and rosier outlook of these establishments. So I mean, I'm not going every weekend, but I have a go-to order. Do you guys have anything that you just like, this is what I'm going to get because this is what they do well?
I actually do have a go-to order, and this is like maybe useful to listeners because as an employee, when you work there, you get like a meal credit for lunch or dinner, but it like is usually less than the price of the menu items. You know what I mean? So you still end up having to like pay for the other half of the meal. So we spent a lot of time trying to figure out what like the balance between like value versus deliciousness was on the menu. And we decided that the sweet spot is the margarita pizza. Is like, it is tasty, it's a full meal, it's a little bit less expensive than some of the things on the menu. So that's what I would go for. Best value, margarita pizza.
I thought you were just going to say margarita and then just end it there.
Mid-shift margarita.
So I don't have a go-to drink order.
Well, what about you, Julia?
I just get the tater tots.
Yeah, that's true.
I think there's an option between Cajun and non-Cajun. Obviously go with the Cajun. It's like almost like salty spicy, if that makes sense. It's not full spice.
They come with a peppercorn ranch dressing.
There, of course.
Ooh.
You got it. But they're crispy and tasty and something that I do crave from time to time. But I will say I don't like their beers. Every single one that I've tried, I have not enjoyed. So I usually get the Marionberry cider, and I'm not a cider gal. But when I go there, that's what I'll drink, and I enjoy it. But definitely the tots for sure.
You guys, I'm so boring. Like, this is my go-to order for any pub, and I just get, burger and fries, but usually get a side salad. I think I've told you guys this, but I don't really like fries.
Did you know that today is Friday?
Oh my God, am I?
It is National Friday.
Smirching fries on its day?
The second Friday in July is National Friday.
Why did I have the need to do that? It was so hateful.
How dare you?
Please cut that out.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
I don't want Big Fry coming after me. It's gonna be like Oprah and beef, It's just gonna be like. I mean, we don't have that reach, but
that's
still.
it. That's like what's going to make the eastern half of Oregon secede and join Idaho. They're just like, we're going where fries are appreciated.
Oh no. Well, I don't like them. All right, guys. I can't be the only one who says hateful things. I can't be the only one who's spreading negativity. Our picks, I want to hear your picks for all around best and worst.
I mean, I'm going to get specific. Like, my worst is the main dining room at the Kennedy School because I still have nightmares about trying to serve in that room trying to serve customers because it is giant and crazy and busy. And there's so much food coming out that you have to get to people. But I mean, the Kennedy School is don't take my word for it from a customer experience. It is a delightful place. It is just sort of a little weird Portland theme park with different bars that you can pop around to. And it's really fun. So even though I had a weird time there, I still encourage you to go and be very nice to your bartenders because they're working really hard.
Mm-hmm. Have you been to any of the pools, John? Because there's soaking pools, if you guys don't know. I mean, that's just a random addition.
We can decide whether to leave this in or not, but there is a soaking pool at the Kennedy School, and we decided not to, and I never went in it because we would always call it the pee pool.
Oh.
Because people would always take their kids in there. If you're staying in the hotel, one of the things you can do is take your kids to the soaking pool. And we're like, that is just a hot pee pool.
Everybody knows that, though. If you see children in pools, it's a pee pool.
It's children in pools, and you can also take drinks in there, which is fun. But I'm there's also lots of middle-aged men peeing in that pool.
Oh, my gosh.
Thank you, John, for your
Yeah.
contribution to the conversation.
You asked.
No, we
We
did.
can retake the question, and Julia could say something nice.
No, I love it. I think this is a PSA, and I think people are ready for the truth. Julia, what about you? Wait, hold on. Wait, did you say what your best? I said best and worst. You went straight for worst, of course, John. What would be your best? Would it still be the Crystal Ballroom, or do you have another one?
No, I absolutely have another one. One of the things that McMenamins is incredible at is like these wild sort of historic renovations of taking these old buildings and refurbishing them and turning them into another purpose. The Kennedy School is that. Edgefield, like what you were talking about, Julia, is a part of that. My favorite, though, is the Backstage Bar, which is next to the Baghdad Theater on Hawthorne. This place is amazing. This place is like legit. I would go and hang out there tonight because the Baghdad Theater is this old sort of giant movie palace type of theater, right? But behind it, they had what had been the backstage of this historic theater, and they turned it into a bar. So it's like the ceilings are like 70 feet tall.
What?
It is just this crazy, like beautiful open space that they turned into this tiny bar. It's really, really cool. So,
I've never been.
Yeah.
Backstage Bar. Check it out.
Okay, Julia, floor is yours, and we're not going to interrupt.
Okay, I'll start with best. Obviously Edgefield. Since I went back that first time, I've gone about 5 or 6 times, which is quite a few times.
Julia,
for
that's so many times. It's more times that I think you and I have like hung out in person. Like that is
Yeah, it's maybe too many times. But from going so many times and wanting to save money on the commute coming from downtown all the way to Troutdale, hot tip, there is a bus line that will take you directly in front of the concert grounds. I think it's the 70 or the 74. If you just hop on, you hang out on the bus for 50 minutes. I usually drink a secret beer, and then you're right in front of the concert. It's fabulous.
Nice.
That's a
And then can you
great
get home
tip.
on it too? Does it?
You can get home on it.
Oh, really?
How late does it run?
Usually the concerts end around like 10:30, 11, and I've never had a problem hopping on the bus almost right away and getting home. And there are other people that take it too, so you
It's
can
fun.
have like conversation and the energy is good. So by far my favorite, Edgefield, check it out if you haven't. But my least favorite, this is almost like an accidental least favorite, and it's because I just didn't have a nice time the one time I went there. But there's a location called McMenamins Ram's Head on Northwest 23rd and Hoyt. And when I went just the one time, it has kind of like a cottagecore theme to it, more like grandma's basement, which I usually love. So just by walking in, I probably had some sort of expectation to feel like cozy and at home. But I couldn't have felt more the opposite of that. Everything was fairly empty, and the workers just seemed like they were having the most miserable time. I would be willing to go back, but just strange. Like the eclectic feel to it had the opposite effect.
Mm-hmm. My favorite McMenamins that I've been to, I found by accident. I was wine tasting, as I do, John. I hope, have you done it yet still? No?
Might head out this weekend.
Oh,
Thinking about it. Yeah.
Great.
Woohoo.
So the one thing I will tell you, John, is that a lot of wineries don't have a full menu, you know? So you're drinking and you're just like, I'm hungry. They're just like, here's a little bit of cheese and crackers. And you're just like, I need a lot more. So what ends up happening is after the wine tasting, you end up at the closest restaurant, and the Grand Lodge in Forest Grove is just strategically placed in an area where there's many, points where you could jump off from a wine tour and end up there.
Mm-hmm.
And especially if you're going to go on a gorgeous day, John, it's such a wonderful like post wine tour hangout because there's so many outdoor areas. Have you guys been there? The Grand Lodge in Forest Grove?
Mm-hmm.
No.
I mean, because I understand, like, if you don't need to go to Forest Grove, like, why would you go? But it's so beautiful. It's like the same kind of like whimsy of Kennedy School where there's like all these little bars everywhere. There's something like 10 or 12 bars on the premise. You got to find them. And they have like this lovely open space, and there's just a few restaurants around. And I think there's just so many buildings that there's always like a wedding. It's like a million different people are using the space for their own unique way. And it's kind of like it's fun. It's fun to see. It's fun to share that energy, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And you get enough space from people where you're having your own private experience, if that makes sense. Yeah. So you could bring a little like picnic, blanket or whatever, and you can just go lay out in the grass. And it's really beautiful gardens, and it's just like chill. And you would never know it. It feels like a little fortress because they just did the landscaping is really beautiful, and so you can't see the street or anything. You're just like in your own little world. It's pretty cute.
It sounds nice.
I feel like my least favorite might actually be the first one I went to, which is why I was trashing it. Is the McMenamins Olympic Club in Centralia?
Oh yeah. But it clearly was left enough of an impression that you kept going back.
I didn't go 6 times like Julie's gone to Edgefield.
6 times in a year and a half.
I know, exactly. I've been a handful of times, but I think there's just something about it where I go back and I'm just like, I can't believe I thought, I don't know. I just feel like I've outgrown it. Let's just put it that way. It's not even like it's bad. I'm just like, this isn't something I enjoy anymore, this vibe here. But there's nothing wrong with it, you guys. If you want to play pool, you're in Centralia, it's a fine place.
You could do worse.
Yeah, you could do worse. Well, you guys, thank you so much. I hope that we didn't trash. I mean, ultimately, you guys, this was all a ploy to get McMenamins to give us their ad money. This is going straight to their inbox. It's just going straight.
Please.
What if you underwrote us, though? No, just kidding. All right, well, thanks, guys.
Thanks, Claudia.
Thanks, Claudia.
And now for your microdose of news. A proposal to further alter the city's charter is facing a rocky reception. Last week, City Commissioners Dan Ryan and Renee Gonzalez raised the idea of making further changes to the city's charter reform measure, but several local lawmakers have now spoken out against that proposal. Yesterday morning, protesters rallied in front of City Hall, urging to let the voter-approved plan go into effect. And Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler showed off the first of his large-scale sanctioned camping sites in Southeast Portland on Monday. The inaugural 70-pod shelter is one of 6 he's planning to open across the city. He says the site, which is at Southeast Gideon Street and 13th Place, will be up and running by the end of the month. For even more local news and events, sign up for our daily newsletter, Hey Portland. We'll throw a link in the show notes. That's all for today here on CityCast Portland. Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more from around the city. Until then, see you at Slim's.